Hello everyone, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to share these thoughts with you all. And I brought the selenite back, and this again has pyramid shaped molecules that keep the energy flowing through it constantly. We are in a time where we're merging spirituality with science. So in the metaphysical world, this is known for cleansing crystals. It's the one substance that I've ever heard of that is known to always clear other crystals of frequencies, or like reset the crystal, so to speak. And when you just check out the science behind what's maybe a spiritual property like amethyst or citrine or emerald or anything like that, we could look up, we can find the science, the energetic structure, the structure of the molecules is going to produce a certain type of frequency, a certain type of energy, and then people say, oh, it produces this result if you use emerald or whatever the crystal. So, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about all tonight, but I do think it's an exciting area of future research that I know we'll be engaging in. But what I wanted to talk to you all about today was this many worlds interpretation holographic universe theory. I've mentioned it before. I did a whole episode another time, but I want to master this. I mean, this continues to gain more and more relevance in my own personal life, and I'm witnessing in my own life how real it is. So I did this sacred geometry painting, it's a watercolor. I used a compass to draw the circles, and then it's just ink with watercolor. It's quite simple to do, and really I played 432 hertz music while I did it, and it was just really felt like a purifying experience for the mind, perhaps, and an activating experience, I feel like, for my pineal gland. When you draw sacred geometry, it is really a profound experience. I highly encourage you all to do it. But the reason why I actually felt called to bring this was not even for any of that. Really, it was just to use it as a great graphic to show the world lines. So we are, so this appears like we're moving through time and space in every moment, but we are actually moving through these fixed spheres that, if you could view it in one lens as being made up completely of frequencies, gravity waves, that if we had the right equipment, and there is equipment that you can buy out there to do this, we could measure the gravity waves of a specific location, of a person, but regardless of that, these spheres are like fixed sets of frequencies, and they're complex, frequencies, but it's like a signature. It's like each sphere, which, it's basically fixed frequencies that describe that moment in space-time. It's like unique to that moment in space-time. So we're traveling through these, like 4 of them every second, and that gives us the illusion that we're moving through time and space, when it's really our consciousness is oscillating between a particle and a wave. Now, this is the part that I just read, and it was like really lighting up my brain. So this scientist, I'll give you the link later too if anyone wants to go read his work, said that when we're in our body and when we're experiencing reality, our consciousness is existing as a particle. But when we are in our thoughts, when we're thinking, our consciousness is existing as a wave. So we're oscillating between thought form and physical form. and basically the way I see this in my mind's eye is we think the reality we want to live, and then we live it, and we're constantly going back and forth between doing that. And this is represented by that, our consciousness literally moving in a sinusoidal wave pattern. So sine wave, it's basically, if you picture just half a circle, so going up half a circle and then the bottom part half a circle, just basically like this. If you wanted to picture hemispheres stacked together. I don't have my drawing equipment ready for this episode, but I think you get the point. And if you picture spheres, you could picture the sine wave traveling like this. I mean, yeah, basically that's what a sine wave is something like this. I'm still working to comprehend exactly what, how the consciousness as moves from being a particle to a sine wave. That's a topic that I really want to go and do more. But basically, our consciousness is moving from sphere to sphere to sphere. And now this is where the fun part comes in, is that we have so many options, and different decisions that we make are going to bring us on different paths through these like infinite spheres that we have. So, you know, I'm trying to think of an example here. Waterfalls. I really, really, really love waterfalls. So I'm going to put my intention that next year, or maybe let's say starting now. The next year starting now, I am going to I'm going to get to spend time near waterfalls, swimming next to waterfalls, going in waterfalls in a lot of different places, and I'm just going to set that intention because I recently learned that waterfalls are extremely healing. So I'm going to set that intention now, and I'm seeing the next year of my life having a high frequency of waterfalls involved, especially compared to just any previous year of my life. So that's just one example, but setting clear intentions of what do these, world lines look like. The world line is traveling through these spheres, and as we make choices, the line shifts. It goes, towards different realities, different outcomes. And it's like, this is just a very, everything is a hologram. Each one of us is experiencing our own life as a hologram. And it's a write your own story. It's like one of those books. When I was a kid growing up in the 80s, we had a choose your own adventure novel where you would read the book and then it would say, now this happens, what are you gonna do? Do you do this? If so, you go to page, 12. Or do you do this? And then if so, you go to page 27. And then sometimes there'd be different options, and then you would have a different adventure, and then you could read the book a different time and make a different choice. And that's, I think, a really great example of how we live our lives. So, I just, again, these are all fixed. And by choosing, say, a sphere in our future that we identify, and we say, like, I might say, I want to have a cabin somewhere on a lake in Maine, so I can be near my family and be close to the land where I grew up and the land where I was born and where I know a lot of people, and it's very comfortable, and I want to have a cabin there by a lake that I can go anytime, and I'm going to see myself. So this is where the practice comes in, because if I meditate and I see myself waking up in the cabin in a comfy bed, and if I'm gonna be honest with you all, then I'm waking up next to my sweetheart, and maybe it's cool, so I'm gonna light a fire and start making coffee and get some breakfast going, and maybe run and do a cold plunge in the lake. And you know, so if I take time and meditate and see that, and see things, see the changing seasons, see going there in the fall when the leaves are turning red and orange and yellow, and if I see myself going on fat tire bike rides with my family and getting to invite them and my nephews going swimming in the pond and having friends and family and gatherings, and building a sauna and having it all be real simple and off-grid. So the more I cultivate this image, you know, the more that anyone cultivates the image of what they want to experience as part of their reality, basically it's like a compass, and what it does is it creates your north, like the magnetic north of the compass, and then having that clear vision of, you know, gosh, that would be really healthy, comfortable life, full of meaning and incredible time with loved ones and strong community. You know, when we see ourselves living this life and we see it first in our mind's eye, and we cultivate those images, and you know, the more we do that, it aligns that magnetic north of the compass to that literal fixed sphere. This is what I want to get across. It's like, once you start to understand that these are all fixed moments in time, and we are writing our own story, we're basically get to curate the moments, moment to moment to moment. But obviously that, you know, if we were really looking specifically at every moment, I mean, that's a really good practice to do, actually, being totally in the now, totally present in every moment. You know, then maybe this technique that I'm mentioning is really not even necessary. And it really isn't necessary, you know, truly. Take what resonates and leave the rest. But for me, I'm finding it quite enjoyable and helpful to really, for me, it's a path to better comprehend our reality and the structure on a physics level. I mean, I was just looking at some physics formulas that describe this, and, you know, trying to wrap my brain at all around it, which is I was barely successful. But for me, you know, knowing how this affects my life and how we can utilize this awareness to better, you know, create the outcomes that we really, truly hope for in our lives and we genuinely care about. If we can use this as a tool, this thinking about this sort of thing and taking the time to think, what is the life that I want to create for myself? If we don't take the time to do that, we're just going to be living out stories that other people write for us. That's what happens. It just goes into default of people, you know, whoever's around you writing the story, and they know what character they want you to play, and then so that's what will happen. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we are characters in other people's stories, but you know, do we want that person in our story? Who do we want to be in our story? Right? Because we get to choose the characters in our stories. So you know, someone can write us into their story, but we don't necessarily have to be a character in their story, and that's totally great. And that will play out in whatever way it needs to, of, you know, like, gosh, I've had plenty of times where I really got interested in a certain person, their YouTube channel or the articles they wrote online, and I would just deep dive into everything that they had to say. And so for that time, they were a character in my story, but they, you know, maybe a lot of those people I'll never meet probably in this life, and I'm never going to be a character in their story, and that's totally fine because I needed that character for a certain purpose, if that makes sense. So I hope this was helpful. I really do feel called myself to go into this topic more deeply, and I really do enjoy sharing it with people because it just feels like, okay, here is one other thing that I did want to share, because this came up recently about the mechanics of it, okay? So we've, you know, a lot of us have been brought up, if you weren't brought up this way, then you're really fortunate, but a lot of us were brought up thinking that we needed to be smart in our head, and we needed, if we had something we wanted to do, we had to plan it out step by step. Well, first I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do that. And I have to be really smart, and I'm gonna show everyone how smart I am by accomplishing this thing, you know, and everyone's gonna be impressed. And I would spend time writing all these steps in my head. First I do this, then I do this. I mean, a lot of energy I would spend just going through all these. Just want to finish this thought. My storage was full and I had to delete some videos. Okay, basically we want to use our brain, our mind, as the screen, and feel from our heart what brings us joy, and then again having time to go into thought and see the reality we want to create. This allows our heart to project onto the screen of our mind our deepest desires, our heart's true wishes of our, you know, the thoughts of a life that bring us joy, and the activities that bring us joy, and the people that bring us joy, and all those sorts of things. So for me, this takes a weight off the mind, and it gives the mind joy because it gives it a useful purpose to where it can actually accomplish what the heart wants to, instead of the mind just trying to be smart and plan out step by step. Because what I'm trying to communicate is that this is like a frequency thing. By thinking these thoughts, we're like emulating frequencies out, and then the physical world can match the frequencies that we put out. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to stitch these two together. Much love to you all. Hope that your lives, that you can write the stories of your lives in the ways that are just bring your heart so much joy. And I love utilizing science to empower one another and empower ourselves through science. All right, so much love to you all. Have a wonderful day, evening, rising, week, month, year, everything. Take care.